congratulations, both of you, on Ma Rainey. It was such a wonderful movie, and the performances are just incredible to witness. So it's a blessing that it was made, and we got to see you all working together. So thank you for that.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
My first question is just, I've heard that, or I know that August Wilson isn't compared to Shakespeare because of his mastery of language and like just the poetry and rhythm of those lines. So how do you both as actors prepare to deliver that kind of dialogue?
A lot of vocal warm-up.
Yeah.
A lot of vocal warm-up, because very much like Shakespeare, you have to stay on the line. I mean, these guys are thinking in that moment and they're staying on the line. And you don't stop because you don't want anybody else to interrupt you. I mean, that's really because you're basically in a room full of other raconteurs, you understand? And so when you get your moment to get out there and solo a bit, you got to be on it so you can get your thoughts across.
Perfect. Glynn, Toledo's kind of like wisdom and patience is really played against Levy's just hot-headed impatience throughout the movie, and kind of like the band's way of doing things versus Levy's way of doing things really comes to a head at the end. So how do you kind of develop that back and forth? Like, how do you guys feel about him when he comes in?
Oh, well, you know, it's all on the page. You know, the lines dictate where the story is going. It's the attitudes and so on that we try to manifest during the rehearsal process. And luckily, in this production, weeks of rehearsal before we went into filming, and so we got to know one another. We got to get a sense of our rhythms. We got to get a sense of the story that we were all telling, all on one page of telling the same story, and what our part was in telling that story. And then the rest is just a matter of what we do as professionals. I mean, we are professionals. I sometimes don't think I am, but come back, hey, look, Ma, I'm a professional. You know.
Speaking of being professionals, which you very clearly are, you both have some theatrical experience. And this is essentially
a little bit.
Essentially, with George Wolf's direction, it feels very much like a play in a very impressive way. So what is it like, I guess, do you have any consciousness of the fact that you're basically filming a play?
No.
Is it?
No. No, George made sure, I mean, the story was first. The story was always first. It took primacy over everything else. And so his brilliance in the way that he directed us is we weren't even necessarily conscious of the camera being there. We were just in this room, in this space, interacting with one another and our characters. So there was no conscious thought of, I mean, of course, you have the technical things. You have to know what a camera is. Clearly. So you don't have your back to the camera while you're speaking. But it was so, what is it? It wasn't intrusive at all.
Right.
At all. We were allowed to play and be in the space and tell the story together.
Now, Ma Rainey and her music and the music that you're creating together is at the heart of the story. What is your personal connections to music in general and specifically to blues and, you know, the successors of Ma Rainey?
Well, I've always been a blues fan. You know, I play a little blues harp. You know, I wasn't familiar with the piano to the point of where I would like to be, although I'm becoming more and more familiar with it. But I played a blues harp for many, many years, and I've been a blues enthusiast for many, many years, you know. So that was a familiar place for me to go, you know, in terms of my love for that music, that type of music, and the rhythms and the pathos of that kind of music.
And for myself, I grew up in a family full of singers. All the women in my family were singers, but largely gospel. singers. And so modern gospel came out of the blues tradition. So a lot of those notes and chords come from the blues. So music has been throughout my life. And junior high school, when I started to learn, was in band, and I started learning the saxophone because I was going to be a jazz man. So I was on the jazz band. So a lot of that has always been a part of my life.
Wonderful. I was really impressed with how, even though it's set in the 20s and the play was written in the 80s, it still resonates today, especially conversations about racial discrimination and tensions still feels like it speaks to audiences today. So what do you hope, what aspects do you hope audiences can take from it, or did you yourself feel when reading it?
Well, I hope they take from it what was so apparent, which is, with the political climate being the way it is now, the question has somewhat been answered when Toledo asked, it's going to take all of us, to do something. And we all went to vote this year as a group of people. And the outcome, though it is as crazy as it is at the time, we did turn the tide. And we did that because we all worked together to do that and did our part. And that's what August was talking about. We have to do our part, And so I think it couldn't be more appropriate for this time.
Slow Drag almost seems like the chillest of the bunch. I was just wondering, what's for you, like what's bubbling under the surface for him, or just what's his personal take on,
I think it's personal. Well, what you're dealing with in this room, all of these men are suffering some form of trauma because of their experiences and how they deal with it. I mean, Levy being younger, it's much more on the surface for him. And ultimately, it has more tragic consequences for he and Toledo. But he's dealing with his own traumas of growing up and coming up in the Jim Crow South and starting off as a farmer. But he has chosen to kind of self-medicate to try to find a chill way to exist so it doesn't kill him. So he medicates with his bourbon. He likes to have a good time. He'll go out, I think he has a very extensive love life. He likes the ladies. So I think when he's there to work, as you can see from the film, he wants to work. He wants to do it. He wants to get it out of the way so he can go back and enjoy the rest of his life. So the company of a beautiful woman and a great bottle of bourbon. So he tries to stay chill. He tries to keep everyone else kind of chill so that we can do our best.
And when it comes to that work, of course, Viola Davis is a force of nature, an incredible actress. And Ma Rainey is a force of nature also. And the band kind of seems to sort of go with the flow of what she or what the manager wants, but at the same time, they have their own ideas about music and what they wish to be doing. So how do you guys play off each other in that kind of tension? And then, of course, work with Viola.
Well, to go backwards, answer your question back, playing with Viola is just wonderful, because she's so into the work, and so much fun to be a part of. We hung out, we had time, we all went out and got our drink on. And so, and had a great time. It was great being with her because everybody, it was her, they realized who she was. They kept the bar open longer, so we had a real good time. But at the same time, it's all about the work with she and Michael and Coleman and Chadwick. It was about getting to know each other with a purpose. We all knew what the mission was, that we had to form and we had to gel as a band so that people would believe that we were just that. And we, being conscious actors, again, the term professionals comes up. We did what's part of our job, which is to spend time together to get to know each other in as short a period of time as we had.
Yeah. And everyone there was, we knew the force we had to meet, that we had to share the time with. I knew I couldn't, there's no playing around if I'm going to be on in front of a camera with Glynn Turman. That would look foolish. So you have to come prepared to deal. There's heavyweights you're dealing with.
Well, you all proved your heavyweight championship material. So thank you so much.